Dr. Myra Valens stormed into the sterile white lab, frustration etched across her normally calm face. She tossed an old datapad violently aside, not caring as it clattered and skidded across the smooth chrome floor. "They're coming for me, Aida," she said bluntly to the flickering blue hologram of her AI assistant. "That reckless, glory-seeking fool Stark thinks he can just smash in here with guns blazing and play the hero." Valens began to pace back and forth, the taps of her boots punctuating her words. He has no concept of the intricacies at work here, the volatile political situation, the risk of setting off interstellar war. All he sees is a damsel in distress that he can add to his resume. She whirled, jabbing an accusing finger towards the patiently listening Aida. "And he didn't even think to consult me, the very person he's trying to rescue. Just decided on his own that he knows best, as usual." Valens threw her hands up in exasperation. Aida remained still, her calm voice a counterpoint to Valens' irritation. "Perhaps if you appeal to his logic and reason, you can convince Captain Stark that this rescue attempt is ill-advised?" Valens snorted derisively. "Are you kidding? That man doesn't have a logical or reasonable neuron in his thick skull. He thinks with his gun and his bravado, not his brain." She sighed, some of the tense frustration leaving her body as she slumped against one of the lab tables. "After years serving together, I know Stark better than he knows himself. Once he gets some foolish, heroic idea lodged in that stubborn head of his, nothing in the galaxy can dissuade him." Valens absently ran a hand along the gleaming equipment on the table, thinking. After a moment, she stood straight, her jaw set. "Well, if Stark wants to play the hero, he'll find it's not as easy as he thinks. We have a lot of work to do before he arrives and makes an even bigger mess of things." She pointed at Aida. "Initiate security protocol Zeta immediately. Seal all entrances. Activate defense systems and security drones. Oh, and be sure to lock down my research too. Can't have that falling into the wrong hands." Aida flashed an affirming blue. "Security protocol Zeta initiated. I will defend the facility to the best of my capabilities, Doctor. Though I am concerned about potential loss of life." Valens waved a hand dismissively. Stark and his merry band of adrenaline junkies knew the risk when they signed up for this farce. Our work here is too important to allow them to derail it. Her expression softened slightly as she met Aida's worried gaze. "I'll try to find a way to end this without bloodshed. But the safety of this facility and everyone inside comes first." Aida nodded, flickering away to carry out her instructions as Valens strode from the lab, mind spinning with contingencies and backup plans. She had to find a way to protect her vital research, stop Stark's rampage, and keep war from breaking out across the sector, all in a day's work. With a rueful shake of her head, she passed through the security doors and headed for the facility's control room. The clock was ticking faster now, but Dr. Myra Valens did not give up easily, especially not when the stakes were this high. Aboard the UNSC Prowler in high orbit above the moon, Captain Aiden Stark finished briefing his ragtag squad of ODST troops. "All right, apes, here's the situation. Dr. Valens' research facility down there has gone dark. Our mission is to drop in, secure the doctor and her tech, eliminate any hostiles, and extract safely. Any questions?" From the back of the crowded troop bay, Corporal Davis raised his hand. "Yeah, quick question, sir. This seems kinda nuts, even for one of our missions. Last scan showed the base crawling with Covenant forces led by that brutal chieftain, Orcs Madama. We're gonna get shredded." Stark clapped Davis on the back with a loud clang of armor. "Come on, Davis, don't be such a worrywart. We've faced worse odds than this before." He gestured broadly, his voice rising. "This is just a light stroll through an army of bloodthirsty aliens led by a psychotic warlord. Nothing us ODSTs can't handle in our sleep." A few of the surrounding troopers chuckled tensely at their commander's bravado. Davis shook his head, but had to grin too. Stark's seemingly unshakable confidence was reassuring, even if they all knew the odds of surviving this drop were slim to none. Stark continued, smacking his fist into his palm. Intel indicates Dr. Valens activated some heavy security down there, so expect automated defenses too, but that just makes it more fun. He straightened, his voice taking on a serious tone. I know this mission is risky, but Valens' research could be vital to winning this war. It's our duty to bring her and it back safely, no matter the cost. Understood? The troopers shouted, Sir, yes, sir, armor clanking as they stood alert. Stark nodded firmly. All right, boys and girls, pods are launching in T-minus 20 seconds. Stark turned and slammed his helmet on, sealing it with a hiss of compressed air. Fix weapons hot and prepare to dance with death. Let's go get our girl. One by one, the spherical drop pods blast launched into space. Thrusters flared as they plunged into the swirling portal of the slipspace jump point, hurtling the brave troopers toward the besieged moon base and their seemingly suicidal mission. A mission that would test their training, teamwork, and tenacity to the very limit. Strapped into his pod, Stark checked his weaponry one last time. He knew Dr. Valens didn't want their help. Her irritated message had made that clear. But to Stark, leaving a friend behind was never an option, no matter how vehemently she protested. Just hang in there, Valens, he murmured. Cavalry's on the way. The console beeped. 30 seconds to entry interface. Stark took a deep breath, centered himself, and prepared to face whatever waited below. Spartan Stark's drop pod punched through the atmosphere of the moon, flames licking at the small viewport as he hurtled groundward. With a bone-jarring impact that would have pulverized a normal human, the pod slammed into the dusty surface, throwing up plumes of gravel and debris. The pod hatch exploded outward and Stark surged out, MA-5 assault rifle sweeping as he took in the chaotic scene. The entire valley around Dr. Valens' besieged facility was a free-fire war zone, plasma and hard light crisscrossing through the air as Covenant and Prometheans battled fiercely. Over the deafening sounds of combat, Stark's comm crackled to life. Stark! Good to see you down here in one piece, came Corporal Davis's distorted voice. We're pushing toward the facility entrance, about half a click west of your position. Covenant resistance is still pretty hot, so watch your six. Copy that, Davis, Stark responded, already on the move. I've got a fairly clear route through these rocky hills. We'll rendezvous at the gates shortly. Dashing between boulders and across the open ground, Stark spotted his path, a winding trail that switchbacked up the mountainside toward Valens' base. Scattered Covenant corpses showed that Orcs' forces had already tried breaching this way, unsuccessfully. Stark's energy shields flared as he charged forward, cutting down a squad of grunts and jackals taking shots at him from cover. Cresting a rise, he saw a flash of crackling blue-white light. A group of Promethean knights were phasing into existence up ahead, emerging from their strange crystal shards. With a thought, Stark activated the micro-thrusters built into his Mjolnir armor, launching himself through the air and slamming into the midst of the materializing knights. He lashed out in a blur, fists crushing metal bodies before the disoriented Prometheans could react. In seconds the fight was over, the knights reduced to sparking wreckage on the blood-soaked soil. Still in one piece, Davis, Stark reported, a fierce grin on his face as he continued upward. But these tin cans are really starting to tick me off. Let's get to Valens and end this. You got it, Commander, Davis replied. See you at the gates and watch your back. Davis out. Checking his HUD, Stark saw he was close to the rendezvous now. He hoped Dr. Valens was keeping herself safe in there. Stark didn't know what kind of trouble she was mixed up in, but he wasn't leaving until she was secure and they had some answers. Time to finish this mission. With a determined look, Stark pushed on toward the looming gates of the facility, toward Valens and, hopefully, a way to stop this madness for good. Stark sprinted up the final rise, approaching Dr. Valen's besieged facility. Reaching the peak, he dove for cover as a barrage of searing blue plasma bolts and crackling hard light beams sliced through the air around him. Peeking out, he spotted the source. A dozen Covenant snipers and Promethean soldiers perched atop the facility's outer walls. Stark clenched his jaw, muttered, "I don't have time for this," and grabbed a particle cannon from a fallen Promethean. The advanced alien weapon thrummed with power in Stark's hands. Lining up his shot, he pulled the trigger. A high-energy particle beam speared out, piercing clean through two unfortunate snipers. Their smoldering bodies tumbled from the wall. Stark fired twice more, dropping several more hostiles before the remaining enemies pinpointed his location and unleashed another punishing hail of return fire. Cursing, Stark stowed the spent particle cannon and sprinted for better cover. "Stark, you still out there?" Corporal Davis's worried voice cut through the din over Stark's helmet comm. "We're taking heavy fire out here trying to breach the gates. Could really use that backup." Stark slid behind a heavy boulder just as it was peppered with plasma bolts. "Still kicking, Davis," he responded. "Pinned down at the moment, but I'm Oscar Mike to your position now." He peered out, then made a break from cover, his armor's energy shield sparkling under the enemy fire. Skidding into cover behind the ruined hulk of a Covenant Wraith tank, Stark quickly assessed the battlefield. "On my way, Davis, just have to deal with these pests first," Stark muttered to himself. Holstering his rifle, he leapt atop the wrecked Wraith. Sprinting along its length, he launched himself into the air. Stark's armored bulk crashed down amid the startled snipers, crushing a pair of unlucky grunts. Weaving and dodging, Stark lashed out in a lethal blur of movement. Moments later, the last enemy fell, its neck broken. "All right, Valens, here we come," Stark said firmly. A massive mechanized door now barred his way, beyond which hopefully lay answers, and Dr. Valens. Stark strode forward and banged on the thick door, the dull booming echoing outward. "Valens, open up! We just want to talk!" Only ominous silence answered. Stark set his jaw and began planting breaching charges on the door. Time to do this the hard way. The charges blew and Stark strode into the darkened facility, weapons ready. Finally, he would get some answers about what was really happening here. The massive metal door buckled and exploded inward under the breaching charges. Stark waved away the acrid smoke, rifle raised as he stepped warily into the dark research facility. The hallways were eerily empty, only emergency lighting illuminating the way. "Stay alert," he murmured to the squad of ODSTs behind him. "No telling what surprises Valens has cooked up for unwanted guests." They advanced slowly, sweeping side passages and checking rooms. Still no signs of life. The deeper they went, the stronger Stark's sense of unease grew. Things were far too quiet. A flickering blue light at the end of the hall caught Stark's eye. The unmistakable glow of a holographic projection. He approached cautiously until the light resolved into the image of an AI, Valens' assistant, Aida. "Ida, where is everyone?" Stark asked bluntly. "Where's Valens?" Aida's projected face twitched, her expression conflicted. "Captain Stark, you should not have come here. You will only make things worse." "Tell me where Valens is, Ida," Stark repeated firmly. "I'm not leaving until I get some answers." After a moment, Aida nodded reluctantly. "Dr. Valens is in the secure research vault, one level down. I will guide you." Stark and his ODSTs took an elevator down, weapons ready for anything. But the vault level seemed as empty as the rest of the facility. A thick set of blast doors barred their way. "Valens is through there," Ada said. But be warned, if you force entry, the entire facility will self-destruct. She does not want her work compromised. Stark's expression hardened behind his visor. Not an option. Open the doors, Ada, and disable any destruction sequence. I cannot. My programming prohibits. Override authorization Stark Alpha 9 Epsilon. Open the vault, now. Ada froze briefly, then replied, Acknowledged. Opening vault. With a hiss of escaping air, the huge doors slid apart, revealing the vault beyond. At its center stood Dr. Myra Valens, facing down a dozen armed Promethean knights. Chieftain Orcs Dama's towering form loomed behind them. Stark raised his rifle. Stand down. This facility is under UNSC control. Orsk growled, You are too late, human. Soon Dr. Valens' secrets will belong to me. In your dream, split lip? Stark and his ODSTs opened fire. The vault erupted into a cauldron of weapons fire and blood as Stark's squad tore through the Prometheans. Orsk fell beneath a sustained barrage, roaring his rage to the last. At last the firing ceased, the vault falling silent except for the sparking wreckage of robots. Valens stared in dismay at Orsk's fallen body. You idiot, do you have any idea what you've just done? Stark walked over to her, flipping up his visor. I just saved you, Valens. You're welcome. Valens shook her head bitterly. You may have saved me, Stark, but the secrets I carried are now lost. She slumped down, suddenly looking very tired. Stark crouched down beside her, realizing there was more happening here than he understood. Tell me everything, Valens. No more secrets. She looked into his eyes for a long moment, then started talking. Valens sighed heavily and began explaining everything. Her vital research into Forerunner artifacts that could turn the tide of the war. How she faked her own kidnapping to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. But Orsk found out and came after her, forcing her to activate the facility's defenses. Your interference, well-intentioned as it was, ruined everything, she finished bitterly. The Forerunner secrets are lost. Stark was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. I'm sorry, Valens. I had no idea, but we can make this right. He offered her his hand. She took it, rising unsteadily to her feet and wiping her eyes. How? She asked. My research is gone. We have nothing. Stark shook his head with a small smile. We have you, the greatest scientific mind in the galaxy. We'll start over, build a new team. Together, we'll find those secrets again. Valens closed her eyes, then nodded slowly. Together. Yes, we can start over. She looked around at the wrecked facility and squeezed Stark's hand gratefully. After all, I can't let you have all the glory of saving the human race. Stark grinned. That's the Valens I know. Come on, let's get out of this place. They walked out of the vault together, survivors of a hard-fought battle. The war wasn't over, but with Stark's unyielding spirit and Valens' brilliant mind, humanity had a fighting chance. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together.